Welcome to Virtually Amazing Assistants, the podcast for assistants everywhere. If you've not met me before, my name is Shelley Fishel. I'm known as the MS Office Maestro, and I've been training assistants, business owners, organizations for over 25 years on Microsoft Office applications, and I still do that. However, I have a passion for assistants. I think you're all amazing. Businesses wouldn't work without you. And so I've created this podcast for assistants everywhere. Over the coming weeks, I'm going to be chatting each week with a different guest expert. We'll find out how they got to where they are, what they're up to now, and how they can help you. Tips and tricks abundant. We will learn loads. So that's me, Shelley Fishel. Enough of this introduction. In a moment, I'll be bringing on my guest. Welcome to this week's episode of Virtually Amazing Assistants, the podcast for assistants everywhere. And I'm Shelley Fishel, as you will have heard in the introduction. And today I've got the amazing Jodie Mears as my guest. Jodie is an executive C-suite. Let me get this right. I better look at my notes because I'm making this already. So Jodie is a highly successful C-suite executive assistant. And she's a LinkedIn top voice too, which is quite an achievement. She's a mental health first aider and co-host of the Crody Files podcast, which is really fun. And I suggest you go and head over and listen to that after you've listened to this one. And she also serves on the advisory board of the PA show. And I think the most interesting thing in Jodie's bio is that she now has a highly sought after mentoring and coaching program with a long wait list. So have I missed anything, Jodie, or is there anything else you need to tell our listeners about you?
I think I got it, or you got it wrapped up there. Yeah, I think that's all. And I'm a mother of three. That probably comes first and foremost.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a mummy
Yeah.
navigating parenthood as it is. So I'm sure there'd be people who can relate to that and just, nod along. That's another layer of
Yeah.
complexity. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I am now. I'm supporting two C-suite executives in my current role. And yeah, all of the above.
Wow. So I think you must live an exceedingly busy life.
Yes.
I'm at the next stage in my kind of motherhood journey. I now have grandchildren. So it's a very different stage of life. But I do remember that kind of juggle of really wanting to get on with stuff, but really needing to be with the children. And how do we do the how do we get the best of both worlds, which is a never ending struggle that I think men don't get at all. So
Absolutely, yeah. You just have to mention parenthood, motherhood, or now with you with the grandkids, and people just seem to get it. They'd like, yeah, say no
they
more.
get it.
We get you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, just for my listeners, how Jodie and I met, we met through Executive Support Magazine. I've written for the magazine and I've presented for Lucy Brazier's ES Tech for about 4 years now. In fact, since the first one. And I've presented sessions on tech because I'm a Microsoft applications trainer. So, tech is what I do. And Jodie has followed me through that. And then we had the great good fortune to meet up at the PA show earlier this year in person, or IRL, as the kids say nowadays, in real life. And I love that, in real life. So yeah, so we finally met in real life at the PA show. And Jodie actually signed up to one of my power sessions. So we had an hour and a half or 2 hours of running around Microsoft 365 and seeing how we could tame it and make it work better for Jodie. So hopefully that was useful. So Jodie, I've got some questions, as you know, because I tried to make my podcast guests feel as comfortable as possible and sent them a few questions up front. I don't like to kind of pounce on people and wrong foot them. So, one of the things that I'm really interested in, which I know that my listeners are interested in, is the story behind the person, about how you got to do what you do. So, how did you start out, and how did you get to being a C-suite executive assistant supporting two people in a very, very busy environment? And then we'll move on to all the other things that other questions that I
Yeah,
how did
thank
you get
you.
to there?
Yeah, thanks for being interested, first and foremost. But it is one of those answers that I'm sure is going to resonate with everyone really who is in the administrative profession. I'm yet to come across anyone in the admin world that said, no, I planned for it at the age of 15, 16. This was in my plan, and here I am today. So for me, I'm quite happy to admit it's a happy accident that I am here today. Like most people at high school, I got some pretty bad career advice. Didn't know what to do. I was a general good all rounder, not amazing, not that enthused with academic in general, not a good academia, if you like, but I had my little favourites subjects. Business was one of them, English was the next, then art. Everything else, absolutely shocking. One thing I did excel in was sports. So I was a keen sports person and represented my school in field sports, javelin, discus, was on the cross
Wow.
country team and everything else. So yeah, it's a happy accident because if I'd followed advice at school, I probably would have been I'm going to put it out that like a professional sports person because I was being pushed into that world, but I chose to hang around the fish and chip shop instead. So because that's where all the cool kids were and that's where my friends were. So that's where I was too. And then from then on, it's just been a case of finding work. So I trained as a hairdresser and beauty therapist, actually. So I leaned more into the beauty therapy side of things because I was really interested in anatomy, physiology, anatomy of the skin, particularly. So I really clung on to that more than the hairdressing side. The family members before me, female wise, are always led to the hairdresser career. So I was probably the first non hairdresser of the family. Managed spas in London for a little while, and then personal circumstances changed, and I had to go temping. So temporary work through an agency, and the most easiest work to get back then, and I'm talking sort of mid 1990 to late 1990s, was office work. And one thing led to another, and here I am, still in the office administration industry. But if I'm honest, I didn't really own my role until much later on.
Yeah. Well, I think that's quite normal, isn't it? I mean, it takes a while to you kind of settle into your groove, and then you suddenly realize, hey, I quite like this.
Yeah,
I can do something with. I can make something of this. So I think that's great. And also, you clearly have an entrepreneurial side to you. You know, the business side. So you appreciate how a business runs, and I think that must be incredibly valuable to your executives because you just kind of get it.
yeah,
Many people start a business, they haven't got the first foggiest idea of what comes next. And if you've done business even at A level, it's a huge advantage. My daughter did business A levels, and it really, really has helped her in her career. So, so when did you kind of discover that you really were passionate about this role and owning it, as you said?
yeah. So I'm quite annoyed in a way I didn't own it sooner. So with the benefit of hindsight, I now know, oh, this was what I was good at all along, and I wish I just fell into that groove a lot earlier on in my career because then where could I have been now? I don't know, but we can't change that. But I didn't fully own my role until around 2017, 2018, and that's because for years I'd been told that being an assistant wasn't a career. It was just
Mm.
providing support. And that belief held me back until I attended a training course actually with Lindsay Taylor, who introduced me to the world of resources, groups, and inspiring professionals like yourself. And I just didn't know they existed and didn't even know the PA show existed. I didn't know that there was a place for us to go, learn, and do more. So that was like my epiphany moment, I think, around that time, 2017, 2018. And then I also realized how important it is to surround yourself with the right people. So that saying of you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with really started to resonate with me around that time. I returned from maternity leave 3 times as well in the workplace, and I was often moved into admin roles that were wrongly perceived as easy. view that I knew wasn't true, and a view I really started to dig my heels in about and wanted to start advocating, not for myself, but for everyone else as well. So that was like a poignant moment. And then I joined various networks, and I saw sort of gaps in the content available for assistance in a relatable way. And I began creating and sharing insights really that reframed the whole role as strategic. And wasn't the first one, but I started to lean into that because it resonated with me as well. And for it being more of a career rather than just a job, because that's what I really wanted it to be. Yeah, and this approach resonated widely, I guess. And this year, my efforts were recognised with LinkedIn's Top Voice badge, which I was really shocked and happy that I got awarded with that. So, yeah, and that recognition fuels my passion even more to keep advocating for our profession.
Yeah. It's really interesting, isn't it? The minute you accept something and you just lean into it and start doing it, the more you do, the more you want to do, the more you learn, the more you want to learn. I mean, I'm, very much older than most of the people I teach, and I'm still learning and I still love learning. In fact, I'm just signing up to an amazing course. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I'm going to sign up tomorrow when the doors open to a new amazing course, which is just going to enhance all the other stuff that I teach and give me an added dimension.
Mm.
And I think that's really important, to be fully rounded. But what I wanted to ask you next is how have your executives dealt with your LinkedIn top voice and your speaking and being at the PA show and all of those things that have happened in the last couple of years?
Yeah, because I recognised that actually in myself prior to sort of this increased visibility, because that was me as well. Oh, I can't go to that because they're going to think this, or they won't let me go, or it's going to be embarrassing for them. They're going to say something. They're going to pull me up. They might even reprimand me. But my executives, if I look, collectively over the years, they've not always been supportive, I guess, especially earlier on in my career. That's because I was assuming rather than asking in hindsight. I didn't articulate how my ideas aligned with the business goals, and you know, that limited the buy-in, I guess, looking again, all in hindsight. But when I started sharing outcomes and demonstrating how my initiatives drove value, I did start to notice that shift. So it really does come from a place of not assuming and having the courage to ask those questions in the first place. LinkedIn, yeah, I know this is a real blocker for some people. And don't get me wrong, it was an absolute blocker for me. You'd never catch me on LinkedIn prior to, that golden time of 2018. I thought it was a place you just went to search for a new job. That's what I was told. Why are you on LinkedIn? Are you looking for a job? And it's listening to those rhetorics that really, again, held me back in hindsight. But once things ramped up, and I quickly learned that LinkedIn is much more than that. That's just a little speck of what they do offer and what it can offer you in return. But I did take the leap actually and asked my executives what they thought, and I was quite shocked by their response. It was one of those questions you type out and you think, send. Oh God. Oh no.
No,
No. Duck.
duck.
Yeah. Yeah, think, am I really ready for this answer? Do I want to know the answer to this question? I said, how do you feel about me being on LinkedIn? You can see it, I don't hide it. And their response really surprised me. One of the part of the response I have here actually, so I'll just read that to you.
That
Um,
would be lovely.
Advocacy has transformed the perception of the EA role into one of strategic importance. It highlights career opportunities and showcases the technical expertise and digital focus required. And the other one was, your increased confidence is noticeable. You've embraced visibility, volunteered for responsibilities beyond your remit, and turned AI into your advantage. So I was just relieved in a way, but I knew if I hadn't have reached out and asked those direct questions, I would have been stuck in the world of assumptions. And for me, that's the biggest blocker. And it taught me, we always assume what others think, but for me, clarity comes from asking
Yeah.
and
It's
genuinely.
Yeah, go on, finish off.
Yeah, I'll say generally executives do respect what we do, especially when we show our impact and confidence and purpose. You know, visibility isn't about overshadowing anyone. It's about stepping into your value and owning it. And I think that's how partnerships are built.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting you talk about, really it's mindset. We all have that an imposter syndrome. I can't get my teeth around it today. Imposter syndrome. It's that thing of why would anybody listen to me? Why me? Why would anybody book me to deliver their Microsoft Office and Copilot
Mhm.
training? Who am I to do this for them? We all suffer with that. And you're right, you just have to own it and be confident and prove your value, and you definitely are doing that. And it's just, I love reading what you post.
Thank you.
I always read your posts. Really, really, really useful. So they have been supportive, even though you didn't think they were. They actually are quite proud, and they must be feeling that you're bringing immense value to their business as well. So
Yeah,
you're
I hope so.
demonstrating that.
Yeah, I hope
Yeah, I
so.
would have thought
I
so.
do avoid talking about certain things to make sure there is no comeback. So when I do advise other assistants how to get noticed, how to stand out, I do go through the whole. There are limits to where you go with conversation, and there's a social media platform for everything. I consider LinkedIn as professional, and I keep it professional, and I also make it very apparent that I don't talk about the company or individuals in any damaging way.
Absolutely. Really, really important. That's a really good point. So the next question I've got for you is how did you get into this mentoring and coaching thing? Did that kind of happen also by happy accident?
Yes, everything's a happy accident for me. And being open to opportunities, I guess. It wasn't ever in the plan. I attended many mentor and coaching programs in the past. And I guess it started as a way to give others what I wish I had earlier on in my career. So if you dig, people like to say it must have come from a place of whatever. Yeah, it did. It's what I didn't have access to. I didn't have anyone to guide me through the challenges and specific how to implement a theory because I'm a very visual learner. I also have ADHD. So knowing that now, that would have really helped me during, my school
Yeah,
time as well to just understand how I work and how I think. So, yeah, because of that visual learning, it took me years to figure things out by myself. So, yeah, now I'm passionate about helping others grow faster by sharing my actionable strategies, if you like, that focus on like real results. And it just, yeah, one thing led to the next. So my DMs are always open. My email is always open to other administrative assistants and business support professionals. Not
yeah.
just EAs, PAs, VAs. And I was getting more and more messages of Jodie, can you help me? What do you think? I've got this situation going on. I'm trying to do this. Do you know how to do it? And it was things that other people weren't getting from, say, networks or other groups. They were coming to me specifically and asking, how do we do this? And that's where it snowballed. It was booking calls, casual catch up calls or casual help calls, I would say.
Yeah.
And then I thought, actually, this is getting into a bit of a thing. Maybe I can turn it into a bit of a mentoring and coaching program. And why I mix it with coaching is a lot of mentoring programs I attended in the past lack that specific direction and that how to aspect. And it would often be sometimes a bit of a waste of time, if I'm honest, because you're just having a monthly chit chat and there isn't no direction, there's no actions, there's no accountability. So that's why I mix it with a bit of mentoring and coaching, and it is a two-person partnership. I really do work with my mentees to really guide them towards their goals and really show them and give them whatever it is they need to see them succeed.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Do you charge for that, Jodie? I'm curious.
Yes, yeah.
Good.
Nothing
Good.
too
I'm
crazy.
glad you said that.
Nothing
I'm
too
glad you said
crazy. Yeah.
no, but it's the point is that because I know I don't know if you've come across this, but I certainly am finding it more and more. People don't value anything that's given to them for free.
Yeah.
And they think it's not worth, if it's free, then it can't be that good.
And absolutely,
People
and that's
value
where
what
I've
they pay
come
for.
yeah, I've come into contact with free mentoring, before, and that's where I was alluding to, because it is free, you tend to maybe bump it, put it to the back of your importance pile. Um, it's not considered really robust and wholesome, and I thought, well, if I was paying for something, I'd be highly engaged, I wanna get everything out of it, I'd ask really good questions, and I'd keep myself accountable because 'cause I'm paying for it. But again, I had access to those paid for coachings, but they were always way overpriced for me. I was outpriced of outpriced from my own learning and development. So I've mixed it again with real wholesome content, chargeable but not too expensive where you become excluded like I used to feel.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and certainly in the VA world and the and the non-employed world, pricing is one of those kind of almost a kind of like stick your finger in the air.
Yeah,
How much shall I charge? Or you look at what everybody else is doing, you think, well, I want to be just a bit more or just a bit less, and yeah, making it affordable so that you feel that you could afford it,
exactly.
is definitely a good way to go. Well, that is just fascinating. So, are there any lessons you can share or tips that you can share with our listeners that will help them? Let's leave them with maybe 3 tips.
In general, I'll speak from what I wish I did because I feel like that's more relatable and it's typical as well, which I'm discovering as well. I would say visibility really does matter.
Yep.
Step into your own spotlight ASAP and show your value. And it's not about overshadowing anyone. You need to put that spotlight on you, own it, and be proud. Adapt and upskill. Stay ahead of everything. Use the technology, even if you don't use it currently in your role, use it on your private accounts. To me, that's a form of strategic thinking and leadership opportunities as well to implement certain things. So, definitely upskilling early on and build your personal brand. Now I know, your brand reflects your value, own it and let it work for you. And like you alluded to as well, or you said actually at the beginning, never stop learning,
Yeah.
whether it's networking, taking courses, or self-reflecting. Yeah, continuous development is the key to success for me.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So, where to next, Jodie? What's your next step, do you think? What
Oh,
would you really love to be doing? This is an off the cuff question and you don't
it
have
is.
to answer.
I'd like to expand my mentoring coaching a bit more and maybe do some group coaching calls, turn that into in person, and of course make more of the Crody Files podcasts. We want to do an in person conference next year as well, mini one to start off with. And yeah, I know I don't want to leave my job as an EA. I absolutely love it, and I really feel like it gives me the tools to be able to do what I do on the side, if you like, as well. So yeah, I'm open. I'm open to what may come before me in 2025 and beyond. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to what the future holds for me as well. But no plan as such, no massive fixed
Yeah.
5-year plan for me. I want to remain adaptable and open.
And I think in the current climate, that's really key, actually, remaining adaptable and open. The landscape is shifting so fast
Mm.
and getting faster. I'm certainly finding with the technology that I teach, keeping up with it is a daily job. The I'm about to launch hopefully a webinar on the new Outlook. I hated it when it first came out. I switched it off. And I'm a Microsoft trainer, but it was lacking. It wasn't fully ready yet. It's now almost there. And it has actually got some extra bits in it which are stunning and will enhance
I'm
productivity.
really looking forward to that because when we had our one-to-one power hour, that was one
Yeah.
thing I was stuck on with is the new Outlook and the whole look and feel. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. It's almost a full-time job keeping up with updates and I've heard that a lot of the new MS updates, they're making them more available on the new Outlook web version as well. So I think it's a little bit of
Yeah.
an enticement to go over to the new version. So I'm really eager to check that out as well.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun. I'm at the moment. I'm just testing whether people have an appetite for a webinar because it won't be a free one. I'm going to do a paid webinar this time. I've done loads of free ones over the years, but it's time to reap the benefits now of
Definitely.
all the time I'm putting in to demystify it for everybody else. But there are so many things actually within it. I just found something new yesterday, and I thought, oh, that's really handy. So
Mhm. Excited to know
yes.
what that is. Yeah, that's
When
very
we stop recording, maybe I'll tell you because it's really very handy.
um,
Anyway, but aside from that, I think we'll draw that to a close. I think we could chat for ages.
we
I
could.
think I have a finite amount of time that they can listen to certainly to me waffle on. So I'm going to say thank you so much for joining me today, Jodie. And I hope, listeners, that you've enjoyed listening. And I will see you on another episode of Virtually Amazing Assistants, the podcast for assistants everywhere, sometime soon. Thanks, Jodie.
Thank you.
Right, it's stopping.
Okay.
Thanks for listening. I'm going to see you next week with my next guest on the Virtually Amazing Assistants podcast. And that's me, Shelley Fishel, the MS Office Maestro, signing off for this week.